For leaking that video, Chelsea Manning copped a sentence of 35 years jail. But President Obama commuted the remainder of her sentence in 2017. But Julian Assange remains deprived of his liberty just for publishing it. Ah, the irony. Experts at the esteemed Columbia School of Journalism in New York say the 2019 charges against Assange are the first time the US government has used the Espionage Act to go after a publisher. Not the hacker, not the writer, but just the publisher. And the implications for free speech and the freedom of the press, therefore, are huge. The main charges centre on whether Assange actually helped Manning do the hacking instead of just being the publisher. Manning herself said this at the time she was released from jail. Quote, "The decisions that I made to send documents and information to Wikileaks and the website were my own decisions, and I take full responsibility for my actions." And here's what Hillary Clinton said at the time.
You have some familiarity with the work of Mr. Assange.
I do.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy, is my view. But
Well, look, I think it is clear from the indictment that came out. It's not about punishing journalism. It's about assisting the hacking of the military computer to steal information from the United States government. And look, I'll wait and see what happens with the charges and how it proceeds. But he skipped bail in the UK. Sweden had those charges, which have been dropped in the last several years. But the bottom line is he has to answer for what he has done, at least as it's been charged.
So let's just be clear. The reason Assange was in the Ecuadorian embassy until 2019 was because he'd sought asylum there. The British police can't enter a foreign embassy, even on its own soil. Diplomatic convention and rules mean an embassy is considered the soil of the country it represents, not the country it's in. But the point is this. Assange sought asylum there to stop his extradition to Sweden. The Swedish authorities wanted him over sexual assault allegations. It wasn't those allegations that he feared that saw him hide out in the Ecuadorian embassy. It was Sweden then extraditing him to the United States, possibly. The sex assault investigation was eventually dropped because Swedish prosecutors said the evidence was not strong enough. It seems the easiest way to get someone these days and damage their reputation if you need to for any political reason is sexual assault allegations, isn't it? That's not good for real victims of sexual assault either, I might add. But when Sweden dropped those charges, which seemed to have been suspiciously dodgy to say the least, Assange still couldn't walk free because the Brits then wanted to arrest him for avoiding arrest initially and going into the Ecuadorian embassy. So then when the Ecuadorians decided he'd overstayed his welcome, he went straight into British custody. Then the Americans brought their extradition request. You see how this works? It's like Rambo. It all starts with a parking ticket or a speeding fine or whatever it was. But see how Hillary muddies the waters there. See how they play on your confusion and the complexity of the story. Oh, well, there were the charges in Sweden, then he was in jail in London, so he must be a baddie, blah, blah, blah. And everyone just goes, oh, okay, he's a baddie. One less thing I have to worry about there being an injustice in the world over, and then we can forget that an innocent man is effectively rotting away in jail for nothing and go back to watching the footy. It's a bit like what former US National Security Advisor under Trump, John Bolton, tried to do when he came face to face with Julian Assange's wife, Stella Assange, on Piers Morgan's Fox Nation show late last year.
And when he gets to the United States, he'll get due process here. And I hope he gets at least 176 years in jail for what he did.
Stella?
Well, of course, Ambassador Bolton is kind of the ideological nemesis of Julian. He has, during his time for the Bush administration and later the Trump administration, sought to undermine the international legal system, ensure that the U.S. is not under the International Criminal Court's jurisdiction. And if it was, Mr. Bolton might in fact, be prosecuted under the ICC. He was one of the chief cheerleaders of the Iraq War, which Julian then exposed through these leaks. So he has a conflict of interest here.
Ambassador Bolton?
Well, that's ridiculous. I have an opinion. So does Assange's wife. I guess we both get to speak them. I think that what she fears is being brought to the United States and having Assange put under trial. If he's innocent, she can at least show reasonable doubt that he's not guilty, he'll go free. What's she worried about?
I guess what she's worried about is a fair trial, because it's pretty clear what the attitude towards him is.
Well, let her say
a large number of Americans.
That's fine. Let her say Julian Assange cannot get a fair trial in America. Let her say it.
Okay.
Well, he cannot get a fair trial in America because he is being prosecuted under the Espionage Act, and he cannot bring a public interest defense.
Let's hear her say that he can't get a fair trial in America, says Bolton. He can't get a fair trial in America, she says. The Justice Department under Trump first brought the official criminal charges against Assange in 2019. And as soon as Biden was sworn in as president, he pushed even harder for Assange's extradition to America. But the US government under Obama had said it wouldn't prosecute Assange because of the precedent it would set. But like so much about Obama, it was a lot of hot air and no action. People were hoping Joe Biden would honour the pledge of his old boss, but so far, nothing.